Good morning, students. Once again, I'm Mansi Agni from Khernagar School, Bandra East. Welcomes you here for this particular lecture of geography. And this is also going to be an interesting lecture. That is the basic geography lecture 4. Before this, we have taken basic geography 1, 2, and 3. In the first, we have covered with Earth, that is the tools to study the earth, a globe and a map. In the second lecture, we have covered the natural disasters, the type of the natural disasters. And the third lecture, we have covered the landforms which are caused by the endogenous and exogenous movement of the earth. So this is what we have covered in the first three lecture. That was all the revision part, what you have studied in the previous standard, that was right from your fifth standard. And this lecture is also going to be a revision lecture. And so today also we are going to start with some interesting topic. So before that, let's go for the recall part, what we have studied in the last lecture, that was the yesterday's lecture. So yesterday we have seen some major landforms that are created by endogenetic, means the interior of the earth, the landforms which are created by the interior of the earth. The process, as well as we have seen the landforms which are created by the exogenetic movement, that is the external forces. We have seen how the mountains are created by the movement of tectonic plates, and how the fold mountain is created, how the block mountain is created, as well as we have seen the how the mountains are created due to the volcanic eruption. So these things we have seen yesterday. Whereas some mountains are formed due to the volcanic eruption, that also we have seen how it is formed by volcanic eruption, the lava which comes out, the debris which comes out, the rocks which comes out get collected in a heap, and there it forms the mountain. And the block mountains are from when large areas are broken and displaced vertically. So that time the block mountains are formed. Yesterday, we have also seen about the plateau. That is the flat elevated landform. Now, what is this plateau? A plateau is a flat elevated, that is the little bit lifted landform. It is raised little from the surrounding area, at least from one side. That also we have seen. Further, we have seen about the landforms called as the plains. We have seen about the plains. The plains are usually flat lands. They are formed by the agent of erosion. I've explained to you yesterday how these agents of erosion, wind is there, glaciers are there, rivers are there. They bring whatever things which comes on their way and get settled where there is a plain area, or get settled in the low-lying area. So that is how the plains are formed, which are good for agriculture. Then we have seen about the desert. Occurrence of the desert is seen where there is a less rainfall or no rainfall at all, where there is a lack of precipitation. We have seen how it is created and the reason behind it. We have seen, next we have seen the valleys and how the valleys are created. They are they are in the lowland between the hills and mountain. We have also seen the valleys type. We have also seen U-shaped valley, V-shaped valley. We have seen the landform similar to mountain. Similar to mountain, there was a landform which is called as hill. The hills are actually smaller or shorter in the size comparison with the mountain. They are easily accessible. One can easily go on the hill and enjoy the natural beauty over there. We have also seen the Pali Hill, Mumbai, Bandra. We have also seen about the glaciers. The glaciers are the rivers of ice. We have seen the types of the glaciers. The last thing that we have seen yesterday was an island, the island which is surrounded by the water on all the sides. We have seen the Andaman group of island, Andaman and Nicobar, as well as we have seen the island Lakshadweep. So, students, this is what we have seen yesterday. Now we'll go a little bit away from this what you can say interior and exterior movement of the earth. Let's see the part which is also necessary for studying geography, and that is called as the agriculture. So India is an agricultural country. So here on the slide you can see everywhere there is a greenery, and why this greenery is there? Because of agriculture. Now, India is an agricultural country and we should know about it. You have studied it in your lessons in your previous standard, and we are going to just revise it along with agriculture, some subsidiary functions which comes with agriculture. Now, agriculture is a primary source of livelihood for about 58% of India's population. The word agriculture is derived from a Latin word which means agri means field or a soil, and culture means cultivation. So, soil cultivation or cultivation on soil, which comes as the together forms the word agriculture. So, agri means field or a soil, and culture means cultivation. Now we'll see in the next slide. Now, agriculture has a wide scope for our basic needs, food and clothing. We make use of plants and animals. Now we see agriculture means not only growing plants, but what are the subsidiary occupations that comes with agriculture. So this also you have learned in the previous classes. Here on the screen, you can see the farmer is there, the fields are there, the cows are there, you can see the other shapes, goats are there, you can see in the corner of the house there is one man who is busy with rearing of the animals. You can see the hands over there. So all these things are grabbed in the one slide, that is the agricultural subsidiary occupation. Now what is this agriculture subsidiary occupations? Now, agriculture has a wide scope. Along with this, it is having an additional terms which comes with agriculture, such as rearing cattle, goats, sheep, then maintaining poultry farms, keeping bees, then pisciculture, then pig farming, emu farming. All there are different parts of this agriculture only. So, in short, we'll see about all this term. We'll move to the next slide. This is called as animal rearing or animal husbandry. Student, you must have learned this. The animal husbandry, that is rearing different animal and obtaining the various product, is called as an animal husbandry. So you get lot of product when you're keeping this animal, and you can make a business out of it. That comes from dairy farming. Cows, oxen, buffaloes are reared for agriculture. These cows, oxen, buffaloes, they are also used in the agricultural world, as well as they are used for getting the milk. So can be utilized for dairies. Commercial dairy farming is mainly undertaken for meat and milk. At the commercial level, this dairy farming is taken into consideration for meat and milk. The sheep and goats are also reared in the hilly areas. Where there are the hilly areas, there the sheep and goats are reared. So let's move further. Now you can see here another type of the subsidiary occupation that comes with an agriculture. that is called as poultry. Poultry is also the part of animal husbandry. Many people get their livelihood by keeping the hens and other fowls. Even the emu farming is also comes in this way, and the poultry is also comes. So here, what is the use of this? Uh, you can get uh, eggs out of it, or you can sell the bird which is used for eating purpose. So for both the things, this poultry farming can be done. Running poultry on the commercial basis requires a lot of care. You actually needs a study to run this poultry farming. At the small level, keeping a 2 3 hens, that is very easy thing. But when you are running the poultry on a big scale, that is for the commercial basis, you need actually a lot of care. In India, this occupation is generally located in the areas close to big cities. Now, why this is located in the areas close to big cities? Because it will be helpful for the poultry dealer to sell the birds or to supply his product to the nearby cities where there is lot of demand, as they provide a ready market for this occupation. Along with hens, which animals can be kept, rabbits, pig, and emu rearing is also undertaken, which comes under this particular section. So here you can see, along with the poultry, student, you must remember about the beekeeping. This also you have seen, you have learned, you have studied in the previous standard. Now here on the screen, you can see the two parts of the screen. One is in the hive and the bee, and the other part is artificially how the beekeeping is taken out, or the procedure is carried out artificially in order to get the more amount of the product, and that is honey. Now, what is this beekeeping? This occupation is undertaken to obtain the honey and wax. In order to collect the honey on the large quantity, different practices are used. You can see here on the slide that how, in order to get the lot of honey or wax at the same time, how the bees are reared, and one box like structure is made so that the bees can accumulate all the honey in that and can be easily found out or can be easily taken. And for this purpose, even you need a study. The beekeeping is also important occupation with respect for agriculture. Okay, we'll move to the next slide. Now, this is also one part of agriculture that is called as the fish farming, or the another word for this is PC culture. So, another word for this particular fish farming is PC culture. You know, students, where the fishes are found, of course, in the river, lake, ponds, all these things. Naturally, we can get this fish. But fishing in the open area has a number of risk factors. Everyone cannot go near the sea, cannot go near the lake, cannot go near the pond and do the fishing and get the fish out of it. So it is having actually a number of risk factors. Now, to solve this issue, this particular PC culture or the fish farming has came into existence. The organisms can be caught in a fishing net. Sometimes it is also consuming. So the risk factor, what happened? And first we'll see the risk factor. What is the risk factor now when you doing the fishing in the seas and all? Other dangerous organisms can also get entered into the net. Sometimes the small fishes are also caught, which is not actually good. Full growth of the fish is not done because of this way. So to avoid all this type of PC culture came into existence. Many small fishes are not fully grown and they should not be caught. And this PC culture means actually what? They fish of the seeds are released in the pond. You can see here on the slide, the seed of the fishes are released in the pond. The pond is artificially made. You can see in the next slide, that is the second part of the slide. The fish of the pond is artificially made. You can see the plastic over there. So this is artificially made pond, and the seeds of the fish, it is released into that pond, and then the fishes are reared, and this is called as the farm. And when the fishes are grown properly, this is also done even for the prawns farming. The prawn seeds are also uh, it is released into the pond, and then the prawns are fully grown. Then they are taken out, and you can take it out very easily because the area is not that large. So this is called as the fish farming. By this work of fish farming, by this occupation, people can get a lot of money. So we'll move to the next slide. This was also one part of subsidiary occupation. And here on the screen, you can see the two part that comes under one part, which is called as the nursery. Of course, students, you must have heard the word nursery. Now, nursery word is having a different meaning. Nursery word means to nurse, okay, to look after. That can be done in for the small kids. You can see the small kids schools are also called as a nursery. So nursery means actually to nurse. Here also in the same case, in the plants are also nursed. They are taken care of, and they are looked after. The proper care of plants are taken, and this that is why this particular thing is called as a nursery. Now, what is this nursery? This particular thing is related with agriculture, where the different types of plants are grown and taken care. This is also a good business. Setting the plants, one can earn a lot of profit in this way. And the different type of nurseries, you can make a different types of nurseries. For example, flowers nurseries are there, flower trees nurseries. Then the cash crop nurseries are also there, and different types of nurseries you can start. Along with the nursery, the greenhouse farming facilitate growing maximum product on the land, and it is the modern type of farming. You can see here the plants which actually doesn't need a lot of sunlight. They are kept under one structure which is called as the greenhouse farming, and this is also a one modern type of farming. So we'll move to the next slide. So far, we have seen about the agriculture related practices. Now, let's see the type of farming in short, because this you have learned in the previous classes. So, each and everything we are not going to take into the explanation part. On the screen, you can see here the type of farming. Okay, the type of farming is divided into a subsistence farming and the commercial farming. Now, under the subsistence farming, it is again divided into intensive farming and shifting cultivation. This we have learned in the previous classes. What is intensive farming? What is shifting cultivation? Under commercial farming, that is for the business purpose, you get extensive. It is further divided. This commercial farming is further divided into an extensive grain farming, the farming which is done at the extensive way, then the plantation farming, then market gardening and horticulture, which adds all the floriculture and all. So this is how there is a type of farming divided into subsistence farming and commercial farming. Under subsistence farming, you have intensive and shifting cultivation. Then under commercial farming, you have extensive grain farming, plantation, market gardening, and horticulture. So this is a little information which is actually necessary when you learn the term agriculture. Of course, in the agriculture you have the type of crops, and that is the kharif and rabi crops. The kharif crops can be grown in the season, the crops which is called as a kharif, which grows in the season of that is in the June to September, that is now, and Rabi, which can be grown in the October to January, as well as we have the third type, that is the summer crops which are grown in the February to May. So this also you must have learned. Now let's move a little bit away from this particular topic. We have covered agriculture, we have covered the certain terms which was related with the agriculture and animal husbandry occupations. Now we'll move a little ahead and we'll go to the topic, the same topic actually, but we are just going forward into the economics now. uh, Now let's move to the industries. Now, what this industries? We are not going to see all the industries here. We are going to see the agro-based industries, the industries which are actually based on the agriculture. What is this agro-based industry? You can see here on the slide that the industries which are based on the agricultural product as their raw material is called as the agro-based industry. Now, which type of industries it includes? It includes the textile industry, it includes the sugar industry, vegetable oil industry. You can see here the sunflowers is there, as well as the different types of vegetables are used to get an oil. So vegetable oil industry, then tea industry is there, coffee industry is there, then leather goods industry is also comes in the part of this, because the agricultural raw material is also used here, so it also comes in the agro based industry. So this is called as the agro based industry. Now let's see all of this in a short. So first we'll take a textile industry. Now, what is this textile industry? The textile industry in India, traditionally after agriculture, is the only industry that has generated huge employment for both skilled and unskilled labor. So this textile industry after agriculture is the biggest industry where skilled and unskilled labors are used. The labors which are very trained, are skilled, as well as unskilled, less educated people are also there who are employed in this particular industry. The textile industry is the second largest employment generating sector in India. So this is the second largest employment generating, which gives lot of people jobs. So this is the second largest employment generating sector in India. Textile industry contributes 2.3% to the GDP of India. Now, what is this GDP? In my last section of today's lecture, I'm going to explain you actually what is GDP. Textile industry is extremely varied with the hand spun, then hand woven textile, power looms, ojiri and knitting sector, as well as cotton industry. Surat in Gujarat is the biggest textile market in India. State of Gujarat, Maharashtra, Haryana, Andhra Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu are the major cotton producing areas in India. So this was all about the textile industry, and we'll move further for the next. Next is the sugar industry. You can see here in this slide the picture of sugar cane from where the sugar is obtained, and you can see down part, that is the industries of sugar industries are shown here. Now, India is the world largest consumer of sugar. Remember, students, in India, the sugar is consumed on a large scale. Some 50 million farmers and millions of workers are involved in this sugarcane farming. So many peoples are involved in this sugarcane farming. Today, Indian sugarcane industry's annual output is worth approximately rupees 80,000 crores, and there are 732 installed sugar factories in India. Apart from this, small sugar factories will also be there, but 732 installed sugar factories are there in India. Now, from where this sugarcane is obtained? Sugarcane is obtained from which area we'll see. It is produced in Punjab, Maharashtra, UP, Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Gujarat, and Haryana. So these are the plain areas where this sugarcane is produced or it's grown. We'll move to the next type of industry, that is the vegetable oil industry. Now, vegetable oil industry forms over half of the total agriculture import in India. India imports around 15 million tons of edible oil. So India is not having or not growing that much of producing that much of vegetable oil, which is necessary for the large population. So what India is doing, India is actually doing the import. It takes from the other countries 15 million tons of edible oil. The oil seeds crops are second most determined category of the crops for our agriculture economy. So these oilseed crops which are there, that is the second most determined category of crops. State of Madhya Pradesh in India has the highest production of oil seed. So where is the production of oil seed is done here in India? The state of Madhya Pradesh, as well as it is done in many part of India, but mostly this particular part, that is Madhya Pradesh, where it is done on the large scale, has the highest production of oil seeds. We'll go to the next type of industry. Now, here this is a tea industry. India has retained its leadership over tea industry for the last 150 years. Okay, so India has kept the position as the leader for tea growing plantation for last 150 years. The total turnover of the industry is roughly 10,000 crores. The total turnover of it is 10,000 crores. Assam is the largest producer of the tea in India. You can see here the picture of the tea plantation. You can see this is of Assam only. So the tea industry in India, it is written over here. And Assam is the largest producer of tea in India. Assam, Darjeeling part, which comes in the east part of India, that comes also the east and north. It is on the actually border, so northeast part of India, that is Assam. Indian tea is among the finest in the world owing to the strong geographical condition, heavy investment in the tea processing, continuous innovation, and strategic market expansion. Now, why Indian tea is very much in a demand? Because of all these factors. Heavy investment, a lot of money, government invest a lot of money in this tea production and tea processing, because the tea is processed in a good way, so the finest quality of tea is produced. Then continuous innovation is there. Continuous innovation means India is not stuck to the, what you can say, the ancient way of producing the tea, or the tea powder. But a lot of innovation, a lot of discoveries are made, new type of machineries are made. The teas are made in the different flavor. You get different type of a tea, orange tea, then you can get a grape tea, you can get a green tea, you can get a black tea. So different types of tea powders are available, different brands are there coming with all this tea powder. Then strategic market expansion, the India has taken followed a good strategy or a good technique to expand this tea market. Even the factor of advertising comes in it, the advertising is done in a good way. So that is why, and even the people like to consume the tea, especially in the rainy season. So that is why the tea is an industry, is a leading industry in India, and India also exports the product. So we can get a lot of money out of it. So economy or GDP is raised because of this tea industry. Kolkata, known as the tea port of India, is also the country's chai drinking hub. So, Kolkata, which is known as the tea port of India, also called as the country's chai drinking hub. So, tea is also called as a chai in Hindi, and that is why most of the people in Kolkata, they like to consume this tea, and that is why Kolkata is called as the chai drinking hub. So next we'll go to the industry which is called as the coffee industry. Now everybody likes to have the coffee, especially in the rainy season. Everyone likes to have the hot sip of enjoy the hot sip of coffee. Of course, this coffee comes in a different brands. You can see here on the slide, the slide is divided into two part. That is, in the first slide you can see a worker is taking out the seeds of the coffee plant from the coffee plants. The coffee plants are different what we have seen in the previous slide. That is from the tea plantation, those trees are different, and these trees, how the structure is totally different. So you can see here how the coffee seeds are removed, that in the first slide. And of course, there is 1 cup of a hot coffee for you all students. Okay, so we'll see about this coffee industry. Now, India is the third largest producer and exporter of coffee in Asia. Remember, student, in Asia, whole Asian continent, India is the third largest producer and exporter of coffee in Asia. Of course, Brazil is the leading, and the sixth largest producer and fifth largest exporter of coffee in the world. So it is sixth largest producer and fifth largest exporter of coffee in the world. The coffee production is dominated in the hill tract of South Indian states with Karnataka. Now, where this coffee production is taken? So, this coffee production is dominated in the hill tract of South Indian states with Karnataka. The country accounts for 3.14 of the global coffee production. This country, it is accounts for the 3.14 of global coffee production. We have in India the different coffee brands. Different coffee brands are there. Of course, the Nescafe is there. Then Koinonia is there, Araku is there, Black Baza coffee is there, then Halle Berry is there, and there are many more. You must be knowing more of the coffee brands. So this is also related with agro-based industry. So because of this, we have taken. Now we'll move a little bit to the next particular type, that is the leather goods. Now leather goods also comes under the agro based industry. Now, this leather is obtained from an animal skin, and animals comes under the part of animal husbandry, which is a subsidiary occupation along with agriculture. So that is why this leather goods industry is also included in the agro-based industry. Now we'll see what is this leather goods industry. Now here I don't have the picture of leather industry, but you can see that all displayed item of which is made up of leather, all the purses, handbags, wallets, big bags, and the different things are there which are made up of leather. So this is called as all these leather goods. Now leather industry includes the material made from leather. Now, what are those material? Footwears are there. Even the footwears of leathers are very, very famous. They are long lasting and they are also good to wear. Then leather purses, if the purses are made up of good leather, then they don't get spoiled easily. So in leather also qualities are there. So if you purchase something of good leather, then it will be good, it will be long lasting. Then garments are made from this, accessories are made from these different accessories. The pack bags and all, the cover of something, cover of the products and all are also made from this leather. So these all things are made: footwear, leather purses, garments, accessories, etc. Now the major production center for this leather, we'll see the leather produced in India are located in the states of Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, that mostly in the part of Mumbai. So these are the places where this leather production is made. Now, where this leather production is made, the leather production centers are in Tamil Nadu, the states of Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, then Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra. Kanpur is the leather capital of India. The Kanpur place is the leather capital of India. India stands on the fourth rank for the share of the global production after the first three, that is China, Brazil, and Russia. So India stand fourth, number four in the rank for the share of global production of the leather material. That is after the first three, China, Brazil, and Russia. This sector is known for its consistency in the high export earnings. So this sector is known for its consistency in the high sector earning. So far we have seen the agriculture, we have seen the subsidiary occupation, animal husbandry, rearing of the animals, then we have seen the poultry, beekeeping, then we have seen PC culture, then we have seen nursery, then we have come to the agro based industry. In the agro based industry, we have seen textile industry, sugar industry, tea industry, coffee industry. Then we have also seen, right now, we have seen the leather goods. Now, this is regarding now what we have learned today. We have learned today agriculture, as well as we have learned the additional functions which are there with the agriculture. We have moved in the little of economics, that is the commercial part, the earning part of it. Then we have taken the agro based industries, where these industries are located. And now we'll go to the very important term, and that is called as GDP. Now, what is this GDP, students? We'll see in the next slide. Now, what is this GDP? Actually, in our geography textbook, the definition is given of GDP, that is the gross domestic product. Now, we are always confused with what is gross domestic product. We say, what is GDP? The definition is gross domestic product. But what is actually gross domestic product? Now we'll see here what is this gross domestic product and how it is very important for the economic development of the country. I'll try to explain you with more of the easy examples. The GDP is the total of all value added created in an economy. The value added means the value of the goods and services that are produced minus the value of goods and services that are needed to produce them. In a simple way, I'll explain you what is GDP. GDP is the gross domestic product, is the final value, final good and services. Means suppose for example, we'll see with the help of the next slide. Now here is the first point which explains, which tells you the explanation of GDP. Now the final price. Now what is this final price? What is the 1 year and what is within the boundary of India? In terms of all these factor, the GDP is defined. It is not only the gross domestic product, but I'll explain you in a very simple way. Now, final price. For example, suppose you purchase a laptop of HP. Okay, then the HP laptop is having the processor, final product. Okay, HP laptop is a final product in front of you, and you have paid for that dealer of HP laptop, or you have paid in the shop where you have purchased. You are going to pay for the whole of the laptop. That is the final price. You are not going to pay for the processor. You are not going to pay for whatever the technologies which are used. The processor can be of any other company, Intel. The system can be of Microsoft. So everything, you're not going to pay them in separately. You will not go to the Microsoft pay for the thing. You will not go for the another company to pay for the processor and all. But totally what you're paying is that you're paying the final price. One more example you can take of a simple life. For example, you are eating a samosa. If you purchase a samosa, you're paying 10 rupees or whatever, 15 rupees, it depends. So you're paying that much final amount for that samosa. So that time, the price of the flour, the price of the stuffing, potatoes, oils, everything is taken into consideration, and which is charged for you, and then you are paying it. You will not go and pay for the floor person. You will not go and poor person. You are not going to pay for the potato seller person. You are not going to pay for the oil separately, but what you're paying is that you're paying totally for that samosa. That is the final price. So these are the two examples what you can say. That is that you're paying a final price. GDP means what? You are paying a final price. Now we'll see the next thing, that is 1 year. Now next it is counted for 1 year term. Now, 1 year means what? The GDP of 4 5 years are not taken into consideration. It is taken into consideration for 1 year. And the next is that the product within the boundary of country. Now, whatever product is made within the boundary of your own country, it is calculated in the GDP. For example, if you're having a company, now, whichever companies are Indian companies are there, they are contributing only for the GDP. Okay. So, if, for example, if you are having a Chinese company in India, so whatever profit will be there, it will be counted in the Indian GDP, because that particular company or that particular industry, it is there in our India. It is there within the boundary of India. So GDP is counted is the final price for 1 year within the boundary, the profit which is there you got into the boundary of India. Now, for example, if you go to count the GNP, now this GNP is not, there is no need for you to study it, because this is a little different, and most of the time in our geography textbook we come across with this particular word of GDP. Now, GNP means what? Same that Chinese company is here, and the production is made over here, but it is counted in China's economy profit. So that is called as GNP. And that is why what happened, we get a less amount from it, then our GDP is a little bit differences there in the GNP and GDP. So how to calculate this GDP? Now we have seen the GDP. What is GDP? GDP means the final price of anything. Okay, now this final price is taken into consideration. Why? Because to solve the issue of double counting. For example, the Microsoft will count the counting of that one laptop in his profit. Other company will take the consideration in their company's profit. So to avoid all this double counting, the final price is taken, and the final price of any commodity which is counted for one particular year, that year I will also tell you how the year is counted. And within the boundary of India, whatever money you get from the total production made in India, that is called your GDP. So how to calculate this GDP? Now it is very simple to take into counting how to calculate. So every single product that is made within the country, every single product, whatever the product may be, which is made in your own country, that adds to the GDP of your country. That is the GDP of our country. Now, if more goods are produced, higher will be the GDP, and if less goods are produced, lesser will be the GDP. So remember, students, if more goods are produced in India, so that India's economy or GDP is higher, and less goods are produced, then the GDP will be lesser. Only prices of end product is considered in order to avoid the double counting. I told you just now, only the final amount is taken into consideration. GDP is not counted according to the calendar year, but financial year. Now, what is this calendar year and what is this financial year? Now, the calendar year starts from where, students? From January to December. That is our one calendar year, January, February, and so on. That is the one calendar year which finishes in the December. While what is financial year? Now, the financial year starts from April. This April, if it starts, and it will end to the next March, next year's March. So that is called as the financial year. So according to the financial year, the GDP is counted. The GDP of one particular year, for example, 2017 GDP, we cannot say it like that. We cannot see the 2017 GDP. We have to say 2017-18, then 18-19. So why it is this way? Because actually the calendar, the year changes if we take into consideration the financial year, that is from April to next year of March. So remember, student, always GDP is counted according to not calendar year but financial year. Calendar year is the year starts from the January to December, and the financial year is the period starts from April to next year's March. So that is why the GDP of one particular year is not taken into consideration. 1 year, okay, but it is how the period is from this April to next March. For example, GDP of 2019 and 20. You cannot say alone GDP of 2019, because the 2 years comes as when you're counting from April to next year's March. Actually, GDP is a wide concept, but you students, for you, important was that just to get familiar with this word GDP. We see always in the geography, always that example is given, always the definition is given. GDP is gross domestic product, and we say GDP is gross domestic product, but we don't know like what is the GDP. So henceforth, you will student remember what is GDP. You can tell your friends, you can tell your parents also. If they ask you what is GDP, if you ask your parents also, na, then I don't think so. Like many of the people are knowing about it. What is GDP? You say GDP and GDP, but what is actually GDP? So GDP is the final price of any commodity which is counted in the financial 1 year, and the product which is made within the boundary of our country, that is called as the GDP. In short, it is called as a gross domestic product. So this is all, and we'll go back to the revise section. So today we have started with the geography lecture 4, and then we have seen the recall section. Then we have started with the agriculture of India. In the agriculture of India, along with agriculture, we have seen the agriculture and subsidiary occupation, many occupations which are there, which comes under this particular topic, and that is animal husbandry, which is used. Animals are used in the in the farms, as well as they are used for other purposes, for dairying and all. Then we have seen poultry business. Okay, here the hens are kept for the purpose of eggs and also for the selling purpose. Then we have seen beekeeping, how the bees are artificially kept, and how the honey is available in the lot quantity. Then PC culture, we have seen, it is also called as the fish farming. We have seen nursery. What is nursery? In the nursery, we have seen greenhouse farming. Then we have seen the types of farming. The types of farming, in that types of farming, that subsistence farming and commercial farming. Under subsistence farming, intensive and shifting, and under commercial farming, extensive plantation, market gardening and horticulture. Then we have seen what is an agro-based industries. The industries which are based on the agricultural product as the raw material are called as an agro-based industries. In the agro-based industries, we have seen the textile industry, second largest industry. Then we have seen the sugar industry. Many people consume sugar. So India is in the need of sugar. That is, we have seen the vegetable oil industry. Then we have seen tea industry. Then we have seen coffee industry. Then we have seen about the leather good industry. Leather good is also comes from an animal husbandry, that is a subsidiary occupation which is related to agriculture. So that is why it is this particular industry is also included in the agro-based industry. Then finally we have seen GDP, that is the gross domestic product. We have seen how it is taken into consideration, what is actually the meaning of gross domestic product, that is the final price of the commodity for the 1 year, and which is produced within our country, is considered as our GDP. So we have completed with the lecture, and thank you, dear students. Hello, ma'am. I've completed with my lecture. So students, after a short break, there will be a next lecture.
Yes, Samina ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.